Hey, welcome back to the Crowdfunding Demystified YouTube channel. My name is Salvador Briggman. On this channel, we talk about crowdfunding and also how to bring your new product into the world, whether that's more of a physical product, that's a gadget or a gizmo, it's a board game, it's a tarot card deck, right? Whatever it is, we love to talk about that and really just maximizing your potential and that as well of what you're trying to do and trying to raise money for. So today, we actually got a viewer question sent in via Instagram that I'm gonna be answering today when it comes to creating a new product and thinking about the materials that go into said product. So we'll be answering that today, but if you do want to send in a viewer question, you can go and search me up on Instagram at crowdcrux.salvador.briggman, and that will bring up my profile and you can send me a DM there. I'm gonna try to check out more of my DMs. I kind of let it go for a little bit, so we get a lot of DMs, right, or the Instagram profile, so go and check it out, and I will be answering some of these as well in the future. And also you can always send me an email at crowdcrux.com and you go to my contact section, we can look at that and kind of use that as well for some inspiration when it comes to the content I put out there on YouTube. That being said, let's dive right in and let's answer this question for you, and it's coming up in just a second. All right, so first of all, if you haven't yet, go and check out my video where I really broke down every single step going into creating a new product, from the idea to actually getting it out there into other people's hands. I have a great in-depth video that I went through every single stage that goes into that. In addition, I have a great video talking about the materials that go into creating a prototype and how anyone can do this from really materials at home. And this is kind of like the initial step before you then have a product, and you can actually raise money for that prototype on websites like Kickstarter and Indiegogo. You can raise a ton of funding. You can also get gauge demand. You can have a massive order quantity, which makes it so much easier when also dealing with other costs that come with, producing a product, and as well, people to actually give you feedback, right, on said product when it's in their hands. So one of the coolest and most exciting experiences, in my opinion, is bringing something new into the world. So today's question came from Hannah, and Hannah sent in a great question. So I'm going to read it out. We're going to kind of dissect this and go through it. She says, "Hey Salvador, I hope you're doing well. I recently found your video on YouTube about creating a prototype, and it was extremely helpful. Thank you." First of all, thank you so much, guys. I do get lots of haters, lots of trolls. So thank you so much when you say kind words. Like, it just touches me to the bottom of my heart, and it makes me just want to crank out more valuable education and content for you. This is something that I do as a labor of love. This is a passion for me. I love putting out videos, love putting out podcasts, free blog posts, articles for you guys to help you on the path. So continue on, she says, Hannah says, "I'm in the midst of pursuing an idea, but I'm a little bit stuck on the materials. I thought it might be worth asking someone like you. As a first-time inventor, quote unquote, how do I learn about what could be the best materials out there? Is this just through research? Is this through something that you do with an industrial designer? Any help would be appreciated. Thank you so much." Okay, so let's go through a couple of different things. First of all, in order to understand the answer to this question, I really have to understand the stage that that individual is in. So she mentioned that she's midst of pursuing an idea and she's stuck on the material. So that could mean to me, and this is kind of like one of my roles, like decoding this as a coach, right? Well, this is like an investigator. It's kind of cool. Thinking about the idea, is it just in the idea stage? Is it literally just an idea in her head, or has she actually taken action? Has she sketched out, for example, what this might look like in 2D fashion? Has she gone 3-dimensionals? Has she created a model of some kind, maybe using 3D printed materials? Has she created an initial works prototype, prototype that actually works, kind of maybe is made from household goods or different items that she can find and sort of cobble together to make an initial functional prototype, or at least to get an idea of how it might hold in her hand? Has she gone to the next step? Has she created a real prototype made of materials, maybe not the end finished materials, but has she done that, right? I need to know more of where she is, where Hannah is in this particular stage and process in order to help more effectively. The second thing is that for anyone out there who is in maybe one of these stages, I'm going to give you a 4-pointed answer, which is going to point you in the right direction in assessing the answer to this question when it comes to the materials that the product is made out of. And also, if you are a crazy inventor, give this video a thumbs up, because we love helping inventors. Like, I get so many emails, dude, from inventors, from people that are coming with new products, and they're just so crazy. This is keeping them up at night, right, to be able to bring this new thing into the world. And I love working with people like that who are passionate, who are excited, who are hustling, that are taking action on nights, on weekends. Like, it's just so cool to be a part of the community. Okay, so my first thing is to really assess the objectives of the the product. So you should actually create a product document where you write out what the objectives are, what the purpose is behind the product, because two products are not created equal. So for example, some products are very based in the functionality. Maybe the functionality is very novel. It's never been done before. The actual mechanical engineering that goes into that product, or the electrical engineering, or the software component, is maybe hashed together in a way that's never been thought of before. So thus, people are gonna buy it because of the functionality. Other people might buy something because it looks cool, man. It looks so freaking cool, the way the ergonomic design is, or the way that it feels, right? Or the way that it looks, or it's a status symbol of some kind. You know what I'm talking about? You could buy a watch just because of the status symbol, right? So you wanna think about the reason why someone is buying it and be thinking about the end user. What is the purpose behind it? Is it because of the functionality? Is it because of the benefits and more of the design kind of feel? Or are there other components, which we'll talk about in just a second? So on the first point, let's just say that you have created something that's very novel, that's new, in the actual way that it functions and the way that it works, and the reason why someone would buy it is primarily due to that functionality. In that case, I think the materials are extremely integral to the actual engineering that goes into that product. So you should not be thinking in terms of like, oh, what's gonna be cool materials, right? You should really be consulting an engineer to understand the mechanics behind that and what material requirements there are, and even what is sort of the spectrum of the types of materials which you can use while still maintaining the functionality of the product. So you should be talking to an engineer. For example, you might be talking to a mechanical engineer. If there's electrical components to that product, it's a device of some kind, you might be talking to an electrical engineer. If there's also software components where it integrates in some way with an app or with the cloud, you might also be talking with a software engineer, or you might be getting them all into a room, giving them some beer, giving them some coffee, and making sure they talk to each other as well, which is very difficult for engineers to do. Want to take all the stress out of fulfilling your Kickstarter rewards? Fulfillrite is the turnkey solution that puts product delivery on autopilot. The Top Campaigns uses trusted high-tech provider to store, package, and ship their products. Focus on growing your business. Leave shipping to the experts. Don't wait. Get a custom quote from Fulfillrite today. Link in the description. From that sort of stepping stone, then you can make a much more informed decision about the materials that the product would have, if that is the focus of the product, is the functionality. Now, let's just say you fall into the second camp, right? Which is that it's more about the design, the way it looks and feels, the way the user interacts with it. It could even be a status symbol to own this thing. At that point in time, it's not so much about the functionality. The functionality is kind of already a solved problem, I like to call it. Like, it's already been solved by other people. But what you're solving is more of like a looks kind of feel, like an interesting looking clock, for example, that someone might buy because they like the way that it looks, or the way that it represents time. In that way, the actual mechanics of the clock maybe are already solved as a problem mechanically, right? But what you're really focusing on is more of the outer layer, kind of like the front end design, the user interface. In that case, you're probably going to be more so talking with a designer, an industrial designer, who's going to be giving you an idea of the range of materials which you can use in order to accomplish some of these tasks. And maybe even if you're going into a certain product category, for example, if you're going for more of a high-end look and feel, something that's more luxurious, one of the materials as well that you can use in this while still maintaining the functionality and having a great looking design, and also the tensile strength, right? The flexibility of some of those materials, the way in which you can bend those materials, right? There's a whole bunch of questions that come into play when it comes to the engineering side and also the industrial design side. But I'd say if you're more so focused on that, you should be talking to a designer, and specifically an industrial designer. Now, on the third decision point, I think that this actually has to do more so with the marketing, my friend. And marketing is something that I'm passionate about. I love talking about marketing. I love talking about sales. I love talking about how to influence the world, right? This is a passion for me. I love to give you the weapons that are in my war chest so you can actually influence and you can persuade other people to buy your product, to join your movement, all these kinds of things. This is what I enjoy doing. I make movement makers, right? So for example, let's just say that you are creating a product and it's really not about the functionality. It's not even necessarily about the design. It's more so about the way people think about the product. So for example, let's just say that you invent or you created a new journal, and a journal is kind of like a solved problem, right? You can use this to write down ideas or questions or notes to videos you're watching on crowdfunding, right? You can use this journal, or if you're reading my book, The Kickstarter Launch Formula, you can be taking notes at the same time. But let's just say that you decided to go a step further. So you have actually a leather journal, okay? So you've decided on more of a premium kind of a feel when it comes to those materials. But what if we also added another layer to this? What if we also talked about the marketing component to this particular journal, and you're marketing to a certain subsection of people. So maybe you're also talking about and thinking about, okay, where did I source this leather? What was the craftsmanship that went into creating this journal? Is it handmade? Who are the people that are making it? How does this tell a marketing story that makes people value this journal much more? So there's also the marketing aim, and this kind of goes more so if you're already figured out the functionality, you've already figured out more of the design, and now you're thinking about how to spin this to fit into a particular product category, a certain brand narrative, and you're trying to tell a story as well, or create a product for a certain subsection of people. In this case, I would be talking to a marketer, right? Like myself. And I still think it's regardless, you should be talking with a marketer from day one, because a lot of these choices are marketing, are branding decisions. This is all product marketing, folks, in understanding how to sell this thing. And the sooner you start thinking about that, the easier it's gonna be. The last and final point that I have when it comes to this question, I know this is a lot, guys, but I really want to deliver my all when it comes to this video. So if you have been liking this, give me a thumbs up and let me know, or come subscribe for more content just like this. The last point that I want to make on this video in response to Hannah's question is that there's also a tremendously big difference between creating a product and prototype of that product and the materials made for that prototype versus the mass-produced version of that product. Sometimes you might have a prototype that's not made from the production-ready materials. So it's not made from the same materials that are gonna be used when you're mass-producing this thing, right? So it's kind of more of like a looks nice, kind of feels nice prototype to give you an idea of the thing. For example, a car might not be made out of the end materials, right? That you're gonna actually be using when you're mass producing that car. So you also wanna think about the mass production element. You might be having some great decisions when it comes to materials of the actual prototype, right? But when you're mass producing this thing, can you do that at scale? What manufacturing techniques, methods, or engineering methodologies are you using as well to mass produce that product at scale? So there are different questions you should be thinking about when it comes to the materials as you go through this process. And if you want to gain more insight, or you want to talk about your product, your idea, or even raising money using a website like Kickstarter or using a website like Indiegogo, go and book a one-on-one individual coaching call with me at the link down below. This is literally one of the best investments which you can make. I do have students who will book me like literally a week before they go live. They're like, oh my gosh, I should have totally talked to you like months ahead of time. I'm telling you, man, this is one of the best investments which you can make very early in the process. So it can have a profound effect when it comes to your campaign, your product, your business, which you are trying to launch. If you're not ready to do that, no worries. Go and check out some of my free videos out there on YouTube. I got some great ones as well, talking about how to create a prototype, actually how to make a product, the different stages which you're going through as well to get that done. And I will link those up down below. So if you want to send a message to me on Instagram, which you might be featured in a future video, go and check out my Instagram profile at crowdcrux.salvador.briggman. Would love to have you slide in my DMs and you can send me a message and I can see whether or not I can actually help you with this particular question. Thank you so much for watching. My name is Sal and I will see you next time.